Okay, so I want to give a little overview of the Maamar that we started early this week. One of the first Maamar that Rebbe gave. Before we go on to the next part of the Maamar, just to explore a little deeper the concepts that we learned so far. So, Maamar El Mishpatim explains the meaning of Moshe Rabbeinu being told by Hashem to give us the mitzvahs. Hashem tells Moshe that the Jewish people were saying to Hashem that we can't handle when speaking to us directly. So Hashem told Moshe, so you tell to them. And in continuation to Hashem's instruction to Moshe to tell the Jewish people the mitzvahs, Torah continues over here and says, and these are the mishpat, and these are the laws you should place in front of them. So what we learned is that it's not just an instruction of Hashem to Moshe Rabbeinu to give us the mitzvahs, but it's much more than that. The first mitzvah that Moshe tells us is kisik nevedivri, when you buy nevedivri. And the way Hashem phrases this mitzvah is that Moshe Rabbeinu, when you, Moshe Rabbeinu, buy nevedivri. What does that mean? So, as was the theme in many of the discourses and talks that Rebbe gave in the first year after the previous Rebbe's passing, this Maamar also discusses the role of a tzaddik, the role of a Moshe Rabbeinu. And the Rebbe was educating the Chassidim, the general idea, the meaning of what Moshe Rabbeinu is, what Moshe Rabbeinu's generation is. So what we started to learn is like this. There are two kinds of souls. There are souls which are called animal-like, and there are souls which are called man-like. Zera Adam, Zera Behema. What's the difference between Zera Adam and Zera Behema? So we learned that in Shamas of Zera Adam, the word Adam is a numerical equivalent to the word to the number Ma, 45, which is one of which is the equivalent of one of the names of Hashem. The name of Hashem, which is revealed in the world of Atzilus. And there are other neshamas which are not connected to the world of Atzilus, although all neshamas originate from there and higher, as we'll see. Neshamas of Zer Behema, neshamas which are called animal-like, and although they may have lots of understanding about the truth of Hashem, but there's one critical component that puts them in the classification of the seed of the animal and puts the other souls in the classification of the seed of man. What separates the animals from the men is the sphere of das. Das is what is unique about the souls of Atzilus. They have das. What is das? So the concept of das is explained in many places in Atzilus, and here the Rebbe, though it's a very brief Maamar, is the way the Rebbe explains it in this brief way, you get a real understanding and a sort of a summary of all the other concepts, other places Chassidus talks about the idea of das. Das means that you become that way, that you care about what you're learning, the idea that you understand, and you don't just understand it, but it becomes who you are. It's not just an idea, it's you. A little bit embarrassing, but it's maybe it'll be helpful. I was once got a ride from studying yeshiva in Morristown to Crown Heights for a wedding. A friend of mine studying yeshiva, I went there and I wanted to stay for a while, but the guy was giving me the ride could only stay for 20 minutes. And then it was middle of the winter, about this time of year, and the car broke down. So to my delight, we have to wait for another few hours until the car can go. So I couldn't mask my excitement. And when they came back to the car at the time that we're supposed to go back to the yeshiva, and they said the car broke down, it's antifreeze. So, oh, great. And the driver of the car wasn't very happy with me. He says, that's the meaning of a person who only thinks about themselves, which was true. I was only thinking about myself. And so, great, car broke down. We got more time here. So, in a similar way, while the shamas of Bria Tziyasiyah, while they understand the truth of Hashem, but they're missing das. Their first reality is their own reality. The first thing they feel is themselves. That's why the devotion and the shamas of Bria Tziyasiyah have to Hashem is classified. This is Bittul Hayesh. Bittul Hayesh means that first of all, there's a something, there's someone. And this someone, he is devoted to Hashem, but his first reality is his own. His first reality is who he is. It's not. His essence is not godly. His essence isn't. His first sense is a sense of self. Whereas the Shamas Vatzilus, souls of Vatzilus, their essence is godliness. Their first reality is the truth of Hashem. In the language that we're discussing this week, Elokus b'pshitus ve'elmus b'schafshus. In the world of Atzilus, Elokus, godliness is obvious, and the other reality is something foreign, something new, something that's a chiddush, something that is not natural. But in the Shamas of Bria Tziyasiyah, the Shamas of the lower worlds, their first reality is their own reality, the fact that they exist. And the Eibish's existence is a chiddush, is something novel, something which isn't their first reality. So while they may be able to appreciate the truth of Hashem in a very deep way, but this is only a secondary reality. It's not something which is natural to them. It's something which is superimposed upon who they are. That's most neshamas that are alive today. Most neshamas are from Bria Tziyasiyah. So the neshamas of Atzilus, it says that their bittul, their devotion to Hashem is called bittul b'metzias. Bittul b'metzias means that their very core is nullified to Hashem. Their very essence is God. So this is the meaning of Hashem telling Moshe Rabbeinu to give us the mitzvahs. It's not only about giving us the mitzvahs, but kisik nevedibri means that you have to bring the neshamas of Bria Tziyasiyah, that they should also have a das, and of course they should also connect with godliness in a very vivid and real way. So before we get to how that's possible, as we discussed earlier this week, let's discuss what that means in the first place. What's unique about the Sira of Das? How come Das is the thing? What's the difference between Das and Chachma and Bina? Chachma and Bina, the difference between Chachma and Bina is like this. Chachma is when you're learning, let's say, your Gemara, trying to understand the Gemara. You're learning a Rashi, trying to understand what's Rashi saying. In order, if you can understand the Rashi, what you need to do is you have to empty your mind and just try to look at the words and hear what's Rashi saying. That activity of emptying your mind and just trying to absorb something that's higher than you, eventually you get the Rashi, the first thing that happens to you is Barakah Maverick. There's a flash. I got the Rashi. Someone asks you at that moment, what's Rashi saying? You don't know yet. Why don't you know? Because it's just a flash. You don't have the full understanding of just, you're on the right direction. You don't know what Rashi is saying. Then to take that idea and divide in details and Bina. So the advantage of Chachma is, what's good about the initial flashes, it's the truth of the idea. What's missing over there, it's not connected to you. It's just the truth of the idea. Bina, on the other hand, it's more about the details of the idea, something you could process more, but you're missing the light of the idea. You're missing you're missing the clarity of the idea. What is Das? Das is a fusion of both. In Das, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to the truth of the idea and make it your own truth. Trying to make the truth of Hashem in this discussion, the truth of Hashem should be your own truth. That should be the clarity of Chachma, but it should be with my own understanding in a way that it makes sense. That's the way I look at it. Not just that I talk about it, but it's the way I actually look at it. That's the way I actually think, I actually feel. And in this process of Das, there are three stages. There is Iskashus, Hakara, and Hargasha. The very first thing that a friend of mine told me that it was actually Daniel Berry told me. Daniel Berry told me that when you sing a niggin, the author of the niggin puts his neshama in the niggin, and you could decide you want to go where the niggin is going to bring you. You could decide that you want to go where that niggin is going to take you. And then when you decide you want to come along, so the niggin is sung differently. Not just you're singing a song, but you want to go to where that you maybe don't know the meaning of the niggin. You don't know the inner meaning of where the niggin is going, but at least there's a decision. I want to go there. In a similar way, when you learn a chapter in Tanya, the first step is iskashus. So iskashus means that you decide, I want to go there. What it's saying in that sefer, I want it to be me. That's iskashus. That you decide that I'm interested. and I want to go there. Okay, so that's the first step of your decision. That's a skasha. You decided. Just because you decide doesn't mean that it becomes that way. That's where you want to go. This next step is called hakara. Hakara means, as we're learning that the Torah uses the phrase of the intimacy of Adam and Eve as Adam knew Eve. In a similar way, when we talk about hakara, hakara means that you yourself have a clarity, a behirus, you have a vivid clarity of the idea. Unlike in Chachma, which Chachma is also a vivid clarity, but in Chachma, it's not superficial. The idea is shining, but for me, it's superficial. It's only touching something external because it's too lofty. It hasn't been divided in a way that I could process it. So Chachma, while it's a more lofty, the idea is I'm getting the muhus of the idea, the essence of the idea, but in my muhus, in my essence, it's far. That's in Chachma. But the process of das is to make this my muhus. So the first step is a skashus, that you decide you care about, you want this to become you. That's number one. Number two is the zakara. Zakara means that you're thinking about what this idea really means. What would happen if the opposite of this idea were to be the case? Do you really get what this idea is really saying to you? You're really going somewhere. Or is, in the analogy I gave before, are you a mensch is your reality is first your reality, and everything else is just foreign. So the power of das is that it becomes your way of not just looking at life, not just it's clear, but the next step is hargasha. Hargasha means that you feel this way, that's in your heart. There's every limb in a human being, every part of a human being can lie. Every part of a person could say not say the truth. One part of the person doesn't lie. It is the way it is the heart. The heart feels the way the heart feels. Doesn't mean that your heart feels what you're supposed to feel. Doesn't mean whatever your heart feels is true. That says in Tanya, the animal soul's in the heart. But you do feel the way you feel. That's not the show anymore. That's who you are. So we're talking about das and elokus, achieving this connection to godliness. The goal is it shouldn't just be a skasha, it shouldn't just be a kara, it shouldn't just be you connected to the idea. It shouldn't just be you recognize it in the absolute clarity, you recognize it. But the goal is it should be hadgasha. The goal is that you should actually feel this way. So that's something that's unique to the neshamas of Atzilus, that they actually feel godliness naturally. However, here we're learning that Moshe Rabbeinu was meant to give this to neshamas of other neshamas of B'rit Yisrael as well. He's meant to give us this kind of truth. Now, how is that possible? So, the Rebbe brings from Sefer HaTmuna. Sefer HaTmuna was actually an earlier work of Kabbalah in the Zohar. It's written by Yehuda ben Elkanah and the Shmuel. And in this Sefer, you can't understand the Sefer without Chassidus. In the Sefer, it talks about 7 Shemitas, about 7 times of 7 periods of Shemitah. Shemitah, we know, is 7 years. And it talks about the first Shemitah, the first period of 7 years. And it says we're in the second period of 7 years. And it says it'll be another 5. So the earlier Kabbalists, they thought this was meant to be understood literally. That before this world, there was another world. And it was a physical world. But the Arizal came and explained that this is not meant to be understood literally, physically. This world is the first creation of Hashem. And what's really meant to be understood in this in this day of Shemitah Rishon, the first Shemitah, what it's really referring to is the world of Teyu, the world of chaos. What was the problem with the world of chaos? So we know it says that in El Mateyu were there's too much light, and the vessels couldn't contain the light. So the vessels shattered. So the world of Teyu, what was the predominant sphere in the world of Teyu? The predominant sphere was a sphere of chesed, revelation. There's too much revelation. So Moshe Rabbeinu, it says in Sefer HaTmuna, his neshama comes from Shmita Rishona, meaning he comes from the place of pure revelation. This world, which is called Shemitah Hashniyah, the main sphere that dominates this world is a sphere of Gvura, a sphere of concealment. That's why it says in Tanya that this world is Rubik Kulera, This world, the majority of this world is evil. As the Gemara says that the wicked dominate the world. So this is all because the central sphere of Elam has that this world is a sphere of Gvura. And then there are 5 other Shemitahs. The 5 other Shemitahs are talking about revelations that will be after Bias HaMashiach and Tchias HaMeis. So Moshe Rabbeinu, he comes to Shemitah Rishon. And that's why he is able to bring the neshamas of Bria Tziyah, the lower kind of neshamas, to experience that. Why? It says that Be'evar Hanar Yoshav Asechem, your forefathers lived on the other side of the river. It's pasuk talking about before the Jewish people entered Eretz Yisrael. Your forefathers lived at the other end of Eretz Yisrael. We learned across the river. We learned that that says in the pasuk that a river emerges from Gan Eden, from Eden, to irrigate the garden. And we learned that the place called Eden is Chachma. The river is Bina. And then there is the garden. And then it says, when we show me apart, and there the separation begins. Then the separation, the world's lower than Bina and Chachma, the worlds of Biyat Siyasiyah, etc. So Be'ever Hanar Yoshav Asechem, what does it mean your forefathers lived across the river? That means neshamas, that all neshamas originate from beyond Atzilus, from beyond the river, beyond Chachma. And that's why it's possible for Moshe Rabbeinu to give us this ability to have this clarity, this that Hashem, the truth of Hashem, should be vivid to us. How can he? Because he's not really making a chiddush, not doing something novel. A Jew, the neshama of every Jew originates from Be'evar Hanar, and that's why the Torah says that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, "Kisik ne'eved ivri." When you acquire an eved ivri, what does that mean? Ivri means from this other side. All neshamas come from the other side. And because all neshamas come from the other side, what needs to happen is sikna, is acquiring. What's acquiring mean? When you buy something, nothing is changed about the thing that you buy. The thing you buy is just changing ownership. The thing itself is the same. In a similar way, all neshamas originate from Be'evar Hanar, from the other side of the river. And therefore, all neshamas organically, intrinsically, in their core, have this connection to godliness in such a vivid way. But because a neshama descends into a body, it loses that. So what Moshe Rabbeinu is doing is buying the Eved Ivri. What that means is he's revealing in us what we have intrinsically. He's not changing us. That's why it's possible. But then the Rebbe asks, what about the body? The soul's in a body. So this is a very, very novel idea that even the body, it says, there's only yesterday, Tuesday, we learned that the body originates from the world of Tayu as well. The body comes from a Pachel Tzus in the Tayu, as it says, when Hashem made the world, there was a spirit of Hashem hovering over the waters. And we learned that Merachefes, hovering, comes to the words Rapach Meis, at 288 sparks, Meis, they departed from the vessels. That's what happened to the world of chaos. So the body and all physical things in this world, they originate from the world of chaos. And therefore, even the way the neshama is in a body, not only is it not foreign to the neshama to experience the truth of Hashem, but even the way the neshama is in a body, it's also not foreign. By the way, that's the reason why in our davening, we always talk about the angels. We talk about the Kaddish and Baruch, the song of the angels. Why are we singing the song of the angels? So Chassidus says this is because the animal soul originates, just like all animals come from the Pnei Shur, the face of the ox in the chariot of Hashem, so too the animal soul originates in there as well. And so therefore, by talking about and learning about them and davening with the song of the Malach and the song of the angels, that makes an impression on our own animal soul. That makes our own animal soul also be able to discover its connection to Hashem. So anyway, because Moshe Rabbeinu is not just from Atzilus, but Moshe Rabbeinu is from Shemitah Rishona, he's from the world of Ateu, which is higher than the world of Atzilus. Therefore, he's able to connect he's able to connect all neshamas with the truth of Hashem. He's able to connect the neshamas of Biyah, the lower kind of neshamas, with their source as they are higher. Okay, that's basically the first half of the Maamar. But this time we're going to continue tomorrow in the second half of the Maamar, but where we're going is like this. The Rebbe asks, what about Neshamas Vatzilus? It says that Moshe Rabbeinu should place the laws of the Torah before them, before all souls. That means he's not only having an effect on the Neshamas of B'riyat Siyasiyah, the lower kind of Neshamas, but even though those Neshamas who have Das and Elokus, so that the Galus is their natural reality, he also is giving something to them. What could he possibly give to them? Don't they have Das and Elokus as well? So to explain this, Rebbe quotes the famous idea, Tachas HaYediyah Shlein Da'ach. It says the ultimate way of knowing Hashem is not to know. So on the surface, as the way Jewish philosophers have explained this to mean that the real to talk about understanding godliness is a contradiction in terms. As Alter writes in Tanya, if anyone says about a very lofty idea, I can't touch it with my hands, people will laugh at him. Why will they laugh at him? Because ideas and touching, the sense of touching, have no connection to each other. The realm of ideas and the realm of the sense of touch are not in the same realm. Therefore, you can't even say you can't touch an idea. It's not even shlila, even the way when you say it's not that way is also ridiculous. So similar way, when we say that the highest level of knowledge is not to know you, that means that you cannot know Hashem's truth. If you're talking about knowledge, that's not the truth of Hashem. But Siddur says that there's a deeper meaning to these words. What are we talking about? We're talking about the power of Das. Das is an ability, and not just that you should understand something, but not just you should, but it should become who you are. It should become yours. So different levels within Das. And Shamas Vatzilus, their experience of the truth of Hashem is their own truth. Their essence is godly. They feel their first reality is the truth of Hashem. In Tanya, the Alter Rebbe talks about two kinds of das. There is a das which connects seichel and midas, and there's a das which connects chacham and bina. There is a das, as we're discussing, that connects ideas that you're learning with your feelings, and there is a power of das which puts together chacham and bina. As we learned before, chacham is the truth of the idea, bina is the way it comes to the details, and das has the ability to connect them both. Why does das have the ability to connect them both? So because this is Das El, in the higher level of Das, because Das comes from Pnimis HaKesed. Das comes from the inner part of, so to speak, the crown of Hashem. That means we're not talking about a level of logic or an understanding, or even a level of the Neshamas Vatzilus, which feel the truth of Hashem in a way that a Neshama can feel the truth of Hashem. Pnimis HaKesed, the inner part of Hashem's crown, what that's referring to is the truth of Hashem as it's higher than the world of Atzilus. So Tachas HaYediyah Shlein Da'ach means the highest level of Das is to have a feeling of the truth of Hashem, not just the truth of Hashem as it is in the world of Atzilus, but the truth of Hashem as it is higher than logic. As Shlomo Melech says, Shlomo said, if I would know him, I would be him. That I knew Hashem, I could be Hashem. On the surface, he's saying it's impossible to know Hashem. The Rebbe Rashab said that Yodat V'Yisrael means that a Yid is, the essence of a Yid is one with the essence of Hashem. And therefore, every Yid is able to have a feeling in the truth of Hashem, and the feeling of Hashem's essence. In other words, the essence of a Jew is one with the essence of Hashem. And therefore, our emunah, our emunah in Hashem is not like something we know because of proofs, not something we know because part of our neshama sees the truth of Hashem. Rather, our experience of Hashem is our own experience, meaning that the essence of, just like you know that you exist, so too you know the Eibusha exists because your essence is godly. And as it says in Tanya, and Hashem is a chilek mamash, it's an actual part of Hashem. And therefore, you died to Vayisiv, and therefore, a Yid knows and is Hashem. That means is, I understand Hashem. I understand, able to put into details and explain. But there is, the Rebbe Rashab is saying, Yidai to Vayisiv means that the highest means that in the madrega, which is in the level which is beyond logic and reason, a Yid spirit elkus, a Yid feels the truth of Hashem, not just the truth of Hashem as can be explained or revealed in the worlds of Atzilus or Bria, but the Yid feels a connection with the essence of Hashem. A Yid feels the truth of Hashem in his very core. All right, we'll see tomorrow what we'll learn in the end of the Maamar inside. Any questions?